the Chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee for as much time as he may consume.
Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the Chairman of the Environment Subcommittee, my friend Mr. Shimkus, who has worked tirelessly, not just this year, not just last year, but probably since the first year he came to Congress, to try and find a permanent solution to the waste storage of nuclear waste in America. And he has been a tireless worker in this endeavor, a smart worker in this endeavor, and a successful so far worker in this endeavor, as this bill passed out of the committee 49-4. I rise tonight to address this pressing national need, and that is the importance of fixing our broken nuclear waste management program. It was more than 35 years ago that the United States Congress made a commitment to communities throughout our nation which hosts spent nuclear fuel and nuclear waste. Congress, the federal government, agreed to assign the Department of Energy with the responsibility to permanently dispose of hazardous material, nuclear waste, by 1998. 1998. Many of those communities, like in the Tri-Cities in Washington State, co-located with DOE, Department of Energy's Hanford site, just up the Columbia River, or across the river from where I live and the people I represent. We've been DOE's partners to help win World War II at that site. It's maintained a nuclear weapon deterrent and power our fleet of nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers. Additionally, electricity consumers in many other communities have paid the federal government more than $40 billion to develop, license, construct, and operate a nuclear waste repository. They've already paid $40 billion to do this, and that was pursuant to the Nuclear Waste Policy Act, the law that Congress enacted. Yet ratepayers have little to see for their investment because, I'll call it political science, has deprived the public of the actual science to prove that nuclear waste can be safely and permanently disposed of. As a consequence of this political interference, taxpayers and ratepayers across the country are on the hook for DOE's inaction. The American people pay over $2 million every day to temporarily store used fuel scattered throughout the United States. So it's up to us to fix this waste management program and stop this cost that will continue in perpetuity if we don't act. Now, after hearing from dozens of expert witnesses over many years, the Energy and Commerce Committee developed and passed a bipartisan bill by a vote of 49-4. Mr. Shimkus led our effort in this measure. This legislation targeted reforms the Nuclear Waste Policy Act of 1982 to set the federal government up to finally keep its promise. The nuclear waste challenge has vexed policymakers for generations. We, this Congress, we have the chance now in a bipartisan way to successfully build a durable solution. And I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to achieve that goal, which brings about tonight's special order. And Mr. Speaker, I just want to show you something. This is a piece of glass. This is not actually nuclear waste, but the Pacific Northwest National Lab, when I visited Hanford a little while back with Secretary Perry, gave me this because it's an example of what the liquid waste, the waste at Hanford, will end up being. It will look like this in a big cylinder. It is glass. This is what would go to Hanford, and it would be stored safely when that occurs. If we don't have a repository, these nuclear wastes in their various forms will sit around in various locations, not nearly as safe or secured as we can have with the kind of legislation fully enacted that Mr. Shimkus has led on. So, Mr. Shimkus, thank you for your leadership on this, and to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, thanks for your encouragement, your participation, your counsel. We're going to get this thing done. And with that, I yield back to the Chairman of the Environment Subcommittee.